A brave fisherman paid the ultimate price during a stormy battle at sea. The hard-working crew suddenly faced a violent storm that turned their day into a deadly struggle beneath a dark sky. What began as a simple haul turned into a nightmare on the moving ocean. It became a test of survival where every fast choice on the slick deck meant life or death. Captain Jake and his crew had pulled nearly 60 pots, their hands cold from the freezing wind. They pushed northwest in search of the mother lode under a moody cloudscape. Each pot overflowed with crabs, and the thought of success filled the air. With hauls weighing 200 to 300 crabs, joy ran high on the swaying boat. But then, the weather turned fast. Sharp winds screamed through the gray fog. Rain struck sideways, turning hope into panic across the wet horizon. Jake knew time was short. They had to return through the rising storm, but the sea had its own merciless intentions. As waves hit the metal hull, a strange beep from the sonar broke the captain's focus. As he scanned the dashboard, years at sea taught him that when the ocean feels wrong, it usually is. He called for caution as he looked at the tightening anchor cable. If the winch snapped, it would be a disaster. On the trembling deck, the waves now slammed with fury while blinded deckhands fought through the rain. Suddenly, chaos erupted. Yells, splashes, and groans filled the mist. The winch twisted like a trap, and any mistake could kill in the churning water. Then through the haze, another ship emerged, the familiar Wizard. Jake had seen it before but never so close in a dangerous squall. The two ships drifted closer in the mad grip of the storm-tossed sea. A collision looked certain. As panic clutched both crews on the surging waves, inches from disaster, they narrowly avoided a crash. Beneath the dark skyline, fear didn't vanish. And Jake had no time to argue over the roaring radio. His crew depended on his strength, even with trembling hands on the icy wheel. Even the best captains can't master the unforgiving ocean. Under a broken moonlight, suddenly a crew member slipped, his scream lost in the roaring wind. He vanished into the freezing Bering Sea before anyone could react. The team stood frozen, their hearts cracked open under the falling rain. No crab catch, no payday could match the weight of that lost life. A celebration had turned into mourning under the dim boat lights. Jake shouted commands, trying to hold the crew steady on the rocking vessel. But every wave reminded them of what they lost. Beneath the stormy heavens, there was no time to cry, just keep moving, keep surviving through the wet chaos. Then another strange sound echoed from the hull, deeper and heavier. It wasn't the anchor, and it wasn't the winch. It was something unknown below the surface. Jake's instincts screamed, they had to leave before the danger swallowed them. The crew looked to him, scared eyes shining through the salty spray. Even a second of doubt could mean more lives lost into the cold deep. Over the radio, the Wizard's captain demanded answers through the crackling speaker. His ship had barely escaped, and his anger roared like the surrounding windstorm. But there was no time for blame. In this perilous, shaking wilderness, the Bering Sea gives no second chances, and every man knows that. On this drifting ice field, the crew thought they had survived the worst until another storm shadowed the horizon. Their strength would be tested again beneath the rolling black skies. Back aboard the Wizard, the men dealt with the close call, their faces pale in the flickering cabin lights. The captain offered comfort, but fear still lingered like fog over the waterline. The true storm now raged inside them, hidden behind silent glances. Today was Jake's nightmare. Tomorrow it could be theirs, on a different tide. The calm didn't last. As a monstrous wave struck Jake's boat under the cold sunset, deckhand Jacob nearly flew overboard, catching the railing with shaking fingers. His face was ghost pale, but he forced a smile in the driving spray. Fear must be laughed off, or it will consume you on the endless sea. Jake saw his terror but could only shout apologies into the biting air. Jacob waved it off. They all knew the risks beyond the rusty rails. On the summer bay, Captain Wild Bill faced a tragedy of his own. Under the flickering storm clouds, one of his men slipped and fell into the icy water, arms flailing. The team moved fast, pulling him aboard as the wind screamed around the mast. The cold had drained him, and he lay weakly on the soaked wooden planks. Wild Bill saw it clearly: they had narrowly escaped another disaster. The Bering Sea doesn't show mercy, and the lesson cut deep. In the eerie glow, Captains Jake, Wild Bill, Keith, and Harley all faced unimaginable trials this week. They lost a man, avoided a collision, and survived while thunder cracked across the sky. It wasn't about crabs anymore, it was about staying alive on the shifting waves. The sea is cruel, and these men know the risk every day.